Well, hello. It's time for Mumamo, your weekly program dedicated to mutants and masterminds, the only superhero TTRPG known to man or woman or they them. Today we're talking about public domain superheroes. I'm really excited about it. The chat has been on fire all morning. Well, it's not really morning, is it?
No.
All afternoon. And it's fun. We have done this subject. We've covered this subject in the past and had a good time doing it. It is always a delight to go through the past. I will say it's often a delight. There are moments, your mileage may vary, but you know who's always delightful? These two guys. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Talking our public domain heroes, and I'm seeing that we've got all kind of friends in chat. Of course, Devious is here. Tempo is here. Having a very deep conversation about what is or is not Michael in chat. You too. Good to see you, friend. Desmond is here as well. Watcher of Classics. Good to see you, friend. Let's see who else. Oh, Grognard Piper. Good to see you. So glad you made it. Grognar says, hey, all finally able to make it. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
RC Beeler is here. Good to see you, my friend. And Raymond says we can hear you, which is fantastic.
Excellent.
And this is kind of an interesting subject beyond just the fact that you get to dig through all the archives and find all the weird stuff that we were doing back in the day. But there's a lot of really creative ways to approach this. But before we begin, let's dive into what are we talking about? What's the fundamental thing here that we're covering?
So in the crazy world of copyright, eventually copyrights expire.
Yeah.
And the ownership of a creative work, essentially becomes public property. And there's a whole, branch of law concerning all of it. And lots of publishers have been, working their magic to try and work their way around copyright law, particularly for venerable companies that own characters like, say Superman or Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
That have been around for close to 100 years. And so there's still a vast wealth of characters who often appeared in publications from 70, 80 or more years ago.
Yeah.
Who only appeared in one comic book in the 1930s or 40s.
Yeah.
And the like. And there are a vast number of characters and stories and art and the like that has since found its way into the public domain.
Yeah, and then as Steve pointed out during our conversation on the subject, there are even folks who just create material just meant for the public domain. You can do whatever you want with that.
Indeed.
And so what's important is that you got to be careful and make sure that you are using the art that is meant to be in the public domain.
Yes.
And I dropped the link to Wikipedia, but you've got to be vigilant. You've got to check your sources and make sure you're doing the right thing because nobody wants to get dinged with some kind of a copyright violation, and that's always a bummer. But and on some platforms you can be booted off. Like for instance YouTube, they take that stuff very seriously, especially when it comes to music and sounds and like. But there are a lot of fun. Oh, great! It looks like our good buddy Jason Cochran has an article on the subject in the Tank, which is phenomenal. I bet you we'll be taking a peek at that before the show is up when we bring on our In the Tank correspondent, Devious Hearts, who will be on later. Salutations to you, mein Bosma.
Mein Bosma.
Mein Bosma. Okay, really interesting. Everything I make exists under very strict copyright. Oh, you are a public domain. Yes, I thought so.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, Yeah, and so then when does that mean that you can reproduce everything about that hero that you find in its existence as a comic or a
Well, that's another key thing to keep in mind too, is especially for characters with a long publication history, is that in some cases, some things about the character may be in the public domain. So, for example, some characters who have just come into the public domain, only one, year's worth, for example, of their existence is public domain, and the rest isn't yet. So it's important to be very careful about what is and isn't in the public domain.
Yeah, some versions as well, right? There could be
Yes,
a version of a
indeed.
character or a hero or even a piece of art that one version of it is in the public domain and then another is not.
Is not.
That's why they're making horror movies about Steamboat Willie and not horror movies about Mickey Mouse.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, great point. Absolute great point. So have you two dabbled
I
in
know.
the
I know when Batman comes in soon, you can use Batman, but Gotham City didn't exist yet, so
Nope,
you just
hadn't
have
been named
Batman.
yet.
Yeah. Now, what I saw is like right around the 2030s is when some of those public domain licenses go up for, public use, like Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman.
Yep.
And that's interesting. I'm wondering because, we hear a lot about the maneuvering that Disney does to try to protect all of the IP that they've got. And I feel like they kind of reached the end of their rope at some point. Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of legal shenanigans they're kind of doing. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at it. So John mentions, please note there is a difference between copyright and trademark. Yeah, DC owns the trademark to most of the Charlton superheroes, Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, etc., even though the copyright lapsed due to non-renewal.
Yes.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but there are a lot of online resources that expressly do some of that checking for you, though you still want to verify and make sure you're on the up and up.
Sure.
Hey, good to see you, Warden Maximus. And Jeremiah, good to see you as well.
And broadly speaking, as long as you're using stuff for your own home campaign, or maybe your fan site, or you're producing, fan content for a website, chances are you're probably fine.
Yeah.
At most, chances are you're going to get a takedown notice of some kind or a cease and desist. But otherwise, it's when you start getting into money changing hands that you have to be especially vigilant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I'm imagining that if somebody is creating something for a third party publishing program, I am always interested in shenanigans. That is true, Stan. That you want to, I think it's really how adjacent to the public eye you're going to be. You want to make sure you're covered in that regard. And let's see. Looking at any other, Jeremiah says, good rule of thumb. If it's 100 years old, it enters the public. Thereabouts, yeah.
Chances are.
2035. That's what I thought about Batman. Yeah. Let's see. And then, like we were talking about as far as versions go, Superman as Fleischman Superman cartoons are public domain. Yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder too, I don't know if you gentlemen know the answer to this, but if I'm creating, and Devious and I didn't quite, we have our Sunday production meeting, and when looking at the idea of what if a prior version of Superman is Superman? Can you just call it Superman if it's in the public domain, or do you have to change it to like a super gentleman or or semi okay guy?
I think it'll be interesting when Superman enters the public domain, how DC decides to deal with any reproductions. Because as John points out, trademark and copyright are different. And I'm sure that DC will take every opportunity to vigorously
to fight
protect their what they consider their property rights.
Hello to Eugene, hanging out in Canada. Glad you're with us.
Yeah, they screwed over Siegel and Schuster. Don't think they won't screw you over.
So what's that story? I'm not sure if I'm familiar.
Just comic companies, essentially cheating their creators out of their creative rights.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah. a Loth.
Did we lose you there,
Oh,
Troy?
no.
Or should we take a look at the databases yet first?
Uh,
What do you think? Am
Oh.
I frozen?
you're
Troy, you keep fading in and out.
going in and out there, Troy.
Am I back?
Yeah, you are.
I think so.
But now you're quiet again.
Now we go.
Looking to see if I'm
Um,
back.
Yeah, you are.
No. Okay. It looks like I might be back now. So
Okay.
sorry. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but it is being a real pain.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we take a look at a database filled with?
Yes.
I
Let's
think
do
maybe
that.
we should
Okay.
talk about why you would want to use public domain characters in M&M before we get into the weeds.
That's a very good point.
I love that. Let's do it.
All right, Alex, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I think looking at some of the reasons you might want to consider using a public domain character in your campaign, it's kind of the same reason you want to use any character that you didn't create. It's recognizability, I would say. You want a character that you could point at and be like, oh, look, here is an asset that I already have art for, that I already have a backstory for, that I can just drop into my campaign seamlessly. Instead of having to spend the emotional energy to create and commission art and go through the process of creating a fully realized character to people.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And there are some fairly famous characters in the public domain, especially the ones that are published in the very early part of the 20th century, or even in the 19th century.
Isn't that
So-
crazy?
Right? So you could definitely make use of those to provide some recognizable background in your game. Like Zorro, is a public domain character, and certainly make a cool background element in a superhero setting to say that Zorro was a historical character, and therefore there may be some history related to that. Maybe he was one of the first masked heroes, and that's why heroes wear masks now.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool way to flesh out the history of your world too, because those characters were created using the sensibilities of that time period. So you can look back and be like, what is the golden age of my superhero universe like?
Right.
Using characters that are native to that time period, quote unquote.
Right. And while we're talking about that, obviously, it is worth noting that lots of public domain characters are products of their time, and need to be looked at, with a careful modern perspective when it comes to importing them into your games.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really important, and just across all vectors. Just make sure
Yeah.
you're just checking it, running it through the playground, and make sure that you're not inadvertently sharing something that is doubly offensive. Let's see. Okay, are we ready to dive into the
Yeah, good if you are.
to look at a couple of these guys? Okay, let's see. Oh, well, look, that's very skinny and small, and you guys are very big. Let me see what we can do to fix that. In the meantime, we're looking at a couple different ones. This one I found, which I thought was just really such a great resource. So many great. I mean, I love this art. First of all, it's just so charming. Even this, black and white line art, I think is even, it's just still evocative of the time. And
Very.
dime novels. This is hilarious. Can we all see this?
Yeah.
Just fantastic pieces of art with all kinds of weird moments and creatures and things. I'm trying to find the one that was on the cover. It looked like a robot man dragging a. There he is.
Good place
Show
to
me
look
the
for
art.
inspiration to design scenes for your stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Frank Reed Jr. and his new Steam Man.
Indeed.
Make it big.
RC points out a great idea about using public domain characters and stories too, is to basically go with the unreliable narrator sort of approach and say, well, yes, there were these stories about this character, but some of the things are not 100% accurate. And Bram Stoker was writing about Dracula, and Dracula really existed, but he didn't get everything right.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And you could do that with a lot of these stories, especially if you say that some of these public domain characters were published in pulp magazines or things like that. You can be like, well, yes, they were portrayed that way at the time, but some of it's not completely accurate.
Oh, watch our
the
classics.
interview with the
That's a great
vampire
suggestion.
treatment.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The story that the whatever creature or villain or hero is willing to be told, so it covers their that way they're kind of hidden in anonymity. Let's see here. Where did that go? It was Watch Your Classics said suggested looking in the Creative Commons as well. It's a great resource.
Yes.
Another place where you can find some very interesting, inspirational, weird gadgets and gizmos and all kinds of things is the copyright library. So the copyrights do expire, and you can go back and look at the different copyrights that
have expired.
Patents. I meant patent.
Patents. Yes.
Yeah. The patent library is really super, super fun.
Yeah.
And let's see.
I gotta say, this Steam Man character is super evocative. Like, I would totally write this character into the background of a campaign and be like, hey, so what was it like when this guy was around? And for that matter, because he's a robot, I presume, is he still around? Whatever happened to him? And what's he doing now? And just what would his modern appearance be like? Be all sorts of fun possibilities.
That could be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of there's the robot bus driver in Titan City that he kind of reminds me of, Drivo, who drives the Magic Kids around.
The driver named Drivo, of course. I love that. And what I love is just this picture
takes
as well.
Union mandated lunch and eats a metal sandwich every day.
I love it. What I do love about this picture as well is these people who are in a wire contraption. It looks like
sort of like a stage.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, no, it doesn't serve. To me, it seems impractical. For weather and all that. But it also just could be a cage that this this Steam Man has decided to use to catch humans. Anyway, lots of fun.
Yeah.
I saw that. And I was just like, I gotta look deeper.
Yeah. So Tempo brings up Popeye, who is also a public domain character.
Oh yeah.
Now. And that to me is a great example of the sort of unreliable narrator idea of sure, Popeye was the basis for all these cartoons and the like, but was there a real guy? And what was he like? And did he actually gain superpowers from eating spinach? And what was the whole deal? About, was there a real story behind those comics? And if so, what was it?
That is great. I'm gonna drop the link. This is we're at Comic Books Plus, and because this whole Stan mentions it in chat, but this whole Frank Reed library is filled with I found the Steam Horse and all kinds of innovations and stories. And
him and the Steam Man were friends. I hope so.
They traveled around, here's
the Steam Man needs a
no man's land.
Steam Man needs a Steam Horse.
I mean, that art is incredible.
Because I gotta imagine he's gotta be tired of walking everywhere.
Right? Yeah. And new Steam Horse Among the Cowboys. All right. Kind of a wild title, but scroll. Well, there you go.
I think anybody in 1892 cosplayed as these characters?
It's Steam.
I hope so.
Me too. I really do. Though, if you've ever taken a spin through what Halloween costumes looked like back then, they were wild.
Wild.
They were so bizarre.
Yeah.
Absolutely
And
the weirdest
of
looking
course,
things.
speaking of Popeye, you can also, pull the classic move that publishers have been doing forever, which is to create a knockoff version of the character where you file off the serial numbers, much like DC did, where they presented a character in Superman comics called Captain Strong, who was a sailor
great.
who ate, I kid you not, an alien form of kelp that grew in the ocean that gave him super strength and beat up
That is
Superman with it.
awesome. Well, here we go. This is Popeye in comic. Let's see, Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye meets the Giant. So all of this stuff is so Popeye and the gang at the zoo. I
Yep.
want to go to there. This
And
is fun.
for a lot of characters, especially like characters like Popeye who have a long publishing history, they've got a whole mythos of
Oh, yeah,
characters and
yeah.
settings and stories and the like that you can play around with.
Right, and Popeye's a really great example. Don't they have what's the island? The island of shoot. Is it Goons?
Oh yes, the Goons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, just
Jeep.
kind of like a sort of almost a sort of a caveman like
Mm-hmm.
creatures that I believe
Yeah.
were like agender or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I remember seeing those in a where the heck did I put you guys? I lost you. There you go. I found you in the mini tabs. Okay, so that's a great resource. Let's
Find
see.
us.
This comes to the. Am I?
You're fading in and out again, Troy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's much like Tom Swift and a lot of the other, sort of genius inventor pulps and stories. America in particular was crazy.
There we
about
go.
Inventors
Sorry,
at the turn of
friends.
the century. Turn of the 19th century, that is.
Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Am I back?
You are.
Great. Excellent. Abe Lincoln is the only president to have a patent on file. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you, King Snarf, for that. If you look at the creation of the Brother Power.
Oh, Brother Power the Geek. No, you dropped out again, Troy. Yes,
All right,
John
gentlemen,
makes an
I'm going to
excellent point
leave
that
you two
although-
for just a moment.
Yep, absolutely. We'll carry on. John points out that while
Thank you, my friend.
a
We'll
lot
maintain the fort.
of the Marvel family characters are technically public domain, many of their villains and supporting characters are not, and almost certainly DC would probably sue you regardless if you tried to use those characters.
Which is crazy because they're the ones who destroyed Fawcett Comics to get those characters.
Yep, indeed. I mean, especially Captain Marvel has such a checkered publication history between Fawcett Comics and DC, and disputes with Marvel over the use of the name Captain Marvel and all of that. So let's talk a little bit about. You can find a ton of databases and resources on public domain characters online. We did a very briefly exhaustive, 10-minute search and came up with half a dozen of them, right off the bat. And I'm sure there's a lot more where that came from. Let's talk a little bit about how you could use public domain characters in your game, particularly if you wanted to. So right off the bat, public domain databases and characters and all of that are just great inspiration. Just reading through them and looking at just whatever catches your eye in terms of a picture or a name or something like that can be just terrific inspiration. You can get a whole bunch of ideas and not even use those characters per se, but it might inspire you to come up with a lot of your own interesting things. Or you might look at that particular character more closely and be like, oh, I could do a better version of this, like,
Right.
and play up the notion of that character and take it in your own direction and basically reinvent it so far as that goes.
They had no idea how cool this character could have been because they didn't understand it at the time.
Right. And, I mean, having the hindsight of, 100 years of comic book publishing history, certainly helps when looking at a bunch of these, orphaned historical characters. Yes, one of the absolute reasons you could use public domain characters is just because you just want to fight Dracula. I mean, that's a perfectly valid, approach to anything. Like Alex said, a lot of these characters are famous, and have really notable publishing histories. So including them in your own setting, just gives them that element of being grounded in that tradition.
Yeah, and it's instant gravitas, right? Like the character's like, okay, I know who this is. I don't have to imagine. I don't have to buy in.
Right. If you say Sherlock Holmes, everybody knows who you're talking about.
All right, I'm back, and I think things look better, but we'll see.
All right, here's hoping.
Here is open. Yeah.
So, talking about the history that Alex is talking about, that's another great use of public domain characters, is to fill out your game's history. Because when it comes to historical characters in a setting, you want a good balance between this character being interesting, but not so interesting that everybody's like, it's a shame they're dead. Like we're only going to meet them through time travel or something. It's a pity this character lived, 80 years ago and we're never going to meet them. So they can provide, public domain characters can provide a lot of interesting potential historical characters because they are in many cases historical, and fit that earlier time period. And you can use them to fill out some of your campaign's history, especially if you don't want to create a ton of characters just for that purpose.
I'm looking at chat and just seeing all of the folks are definitely have spent some time thinking about this subject and even creating some. I'm curious, friends, would you let me know? That's funny. She's like, all right, it's our time to shine. But do me a favor, if you've created a hero, utilizing the libraries of public domain artwork or what have you, or villains, or even as historical background or whatever, let us know. I want to know about it so we can kind of we can take a look and gain some inspiration from you. I like that for sure. And I did in this process lose my script.
That's okay.
Oh no!
You can drop that link in chat. That would be great.
Absolutely. So I think that the interesting sort of midpoint between using the public domain characters as history and using them as sort of present day inspiration is the idea of setting them up as legacy characters in some way or another, which is always a fun element to include in your games.
I like that. How much do you think that folks should rely on story versus art? Like, if you're putting it together, because you could really just go in and borrow some interesting art and then call that it, and then write your own.
Absolutely.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Depends on your needs. Depends on the time that you had to prepare and what you're hoping to get out of it. I will say it's always funny when a public domain character that's very popular winds up not performing the way that you were expecting them to.
Oh yeah, what do you mean?
Every time Dracula has shown up in my Untold Stories Project universe, Centuria has one-shot him and sent him on his merry way.
I love that. Poor guy.
You got to take into account the disparity in power levels, especially for a lot of the historical characters, and you have to play around with that and say, hey, either wow, Dracula's just not powerful by the standards of modern superheroes. I mean, sure, he was a terror in Victorian London, but come on. Or you have to be like, either the story's hugely underestimated his power, or he's gotten a lot more powerful in the century since, Stoker was writing about him. And that can always be like a suitable surprise for the players who are thinking that, oh, this guy's going to be a pushover.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we covered this already, so apologies if we did. But this is pretty solid advice. Jeremiah mentions that it's worth noting that what you do in non-public games matters a little. It matters a little less. Everything is fair game. Until you need to stream it or use it in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's a sound advice. Let's see. Yeah, and Devious in the background here is kind of talking a little bit about the failure to renew, which is one of those things where if people don't defend their copyright, it can roll over into the public domain, and there it lives. And that is an interesting distinction. And again, just be sure where you're at. The library you're looking at is very clearly labeled what it is, so you can be sure, and also see what other people are doing with it.
Indeed.
Walking around the internet. Yeah, go ahead.
So Grognard Piper picks up on our legacy idea and says, like imagine, a modern version of Zorro.
Yeah.
Whether that character is Zorro's actual descendant or somebody simply inspired by him. It could be interesting for somebody to take up that name and a lot of that, just sort of the theme of that character. But, it would be interesting to interpret that sort of character in a modern day context.
Absolutely. I love that. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So RC says, I have PL tied a bit to Era. So on the axis of Era, as it moves forward, they get more powerful. Interesting.
That's generally true, RC. I mean, you're going to find that the Victorian era games, as you said, are probably in the PL6 sort of area, and they creep up in power level, and two, they get in some cases way off the power level scale in the Silver Age, and then they come back down again. So you are definitely going to find the more time goes on, usually the more super characters get.
Yeah, and more refined. There are definitely some rough around the edges, characters or heroes that you can look back on and see in history. This is an interesting question.
I'm kind of interested in the idea of a bell curve for a era PL, where like it got really powerful during the Silver Age, and then everything got rebooted, and everybody got significantly less powerful.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That makes some sense. Looking at this, Gene asks, what are the top 10 public domain characters in Mutants and Masterminds?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, we don't have a ton of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've done Dracula. And I think right. Obviously, all the mythological characters are public domain because they're thousands of years old. As far as that goes, I know we've mentioned Sherlock Holmes a couple of times, and so he presumably exists or existed.
And Daedalus, is that a public domain historical?
Well, again, Daedalus is a character out of Greek mythology, so he's public domain.
Right. Yeah. But he's not top 10. Don't give him that credit.
Alex would never cotton to that.
That's right. Let's see. Looking at some other thoughts here. Imagine using the Avengers or the X-Men and not just XPs or copycats, with a few differences, the characters themselves in Mutants and Masterminds in secret.
You can if you want to.
You certainly can.
Nobody's stopping you.
That's right. You take it out of your imagination and make it practical right around your table. Your personal private game table.
Yeah.
I'm saying have it actually be Zorro and his first appearance be in 2026. You can present it that way.
Sure, you could. Maybe there is no historical Zorro in your setting until now.
And maybe there is no other superhero TTRPG known to man. So could possibly be. Let's see. Jeremiah says this is also why you suddenly see some new piece of media with a character who hasn't gotten anything in a while. Using it
Yeah.
helps keep the copyright.
It's renewing the copyright.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I think isn't that also part of the reason why we got, well, this is more like licensing, I think, but so many crappy Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, no, that's licensing,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
You'll often see, in comics, a sudden revival of a character who hasn't been seen in years, and usually it's because their copyright is, coming up, and in order to defend it,
They
they
got
have
to
to
make
publish
some
at least
noise.
a story with them. In it.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. How long until Arctic Fox enters the public domain?
Probably 21/8/15, somewhere in there.
21/80/15?
Yeah.
That is a long time away.
It's definitely going to be somebody else's problem.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's something in the public domain sort of works discussion around after the death of the person who made it. There's like 70 some odd years or something.
76.
76 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, given that Alex is all of 10 years old, then, you got to wait for a bit there, RC.
Well,
most
I don't own the
mytholo-
copyright for Arctic Fox.
Um,
It's
I guess that would, so it
a
would be
Green Ronin
the
publication.
the expiration of the holder of the copyright as opposed to the
Mhm.
creator.
Yeah.
Okay. Public domain characters as ghosts. Sure, that's clever. I
Yeah.
like that.
Absolutely.
Have a lot of fun with that. For most works created after January 1978, copyright lasts for the author's life plus 70 years.
Hmm.
Now,
There you go.
author's right or copyright owner's life.
Don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know.
And we are not attorneys, so we
And I was
play
just
one.
going to say, and this is not a
on the
legal
program.
advice podcast, so
Not at all, right? Yeah. Do not take any advice from us. I'm just saying.
right.
We'll still give it to you though.
Well, oh yeah, plenty
Yeah.
to offer, but it's all offered allegedly.
Exactly.
Anonymous pseudonyms and work for hire material generally last 5 years. Okay, great, awesome. And folks, I encourage you to read the chat and then make sure you do your own research.
Yeah.
So you don't
Indeed.
find yourself in a jackpot.
All right. So other uses for
Yeah.
public domain characters. They make great characters from alternate Earths.
Oh,
if you-
yeah.
If you want to have some alternate Earths in your setting and you need characters to be from there, but you don't want to, and you don't want to just create up alternate versions of the characters from your world, you can always grab a bunch of public domain characters as inspiration and have them be from the alternate world. And that gives you, again, access to characters who are potentially interesting, but aren't going to be so interesting that people are going to lament that they don't get to see them all the time because they're on that other Earth. And of
I like
course,
that.
if you're going for sort of an Earth 2 vibe, having some vintage characters show up can definitely convey that.
That was interesting, Steve. I did not know this. This is a phenomenal resource I'm just putting in. But Drive-Thru RPG has public domain
They do.
heroes and
In
characters and
fact,
stuff.
There's a whole bunch of public domain superhero resources on Drive-Thru, including
It's
art
so
and
great.
character write-ups,
So check that out in the link I just dropped.
where folks have already sort of done the work for you.
Yeah, it's great. And some of it looks like stuff that they have submitted just to be. And well, it looks like the majority of it is. But this is great. This is really, really DM Studios, it looks like. We've got a lot
Yeah.
of different supers that look nice and hand-drawn like we like. That's fun. I dig it. That's a neat resource.
Yeah.
And DV says, this is what I found on Googler. I don't know what that is. Copyright. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so, check all those links out. And again, just double check. And I wouldn't take chat's sole advice on this. So they are quite wise.
Mhm.
And so other uses for public domain characters.
You can also use them just as they are, as fictional characters. If your world has a history of superhero publishing, and you want to figure out some superheroes to include in it, you can have a bunch of public domain characters as the characters who are in the comics in your world. And then you get to decide from there whether or not they are also based on real stories or were inspired by characters from alternate Earths or any of that stuff in addition to that. And you
Like
can
that.
then you can do the, hey, you're just that guy in the comics. You're not real.
That's awesome. I love that. So have you two dabbled a lot in kind of creating your own sort of a public domain? I mean, it's such an interesting little place to dig around, but I'm imagining maybe not the most efficient way to create a hero.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Like, I've done some work with some literary characters like Dorian Gray and Frankenstein's monster and Jekyll and Hyde and things like that.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I like to take inspiration from characters that I see out in the world and try to put my own spin on things. But I've been burdened with an abundance of imagination and not enough instinct to say no to extra work.
Right.
Not that
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with borrowing characters.
No,
But,
absolutely not.
yeah.
I've primarily borrowed a couple of public domain characters here and there to add that like touch of historical authenticity to my settings. And so it's usually the characters from like the very old 19th century stories. I tend to fall back on that kind of stuff more than the original 30s and 40s comics. So like Paul points out, for example, Professor Challenger from the Arthur Conan Doyle stories is the guy who discovered the lost world on Earth Prime. As a nod to that.
Looks like John mentions a project. I'll have to look and see if they're still available. Second edition projects featuring public domain heroes.
Yeah, there's also a I think it's second edition. Ken Hite did a product that was basically a crossover between a bunch of public domain superheroes and what if H.P. Lovecraft had written comics instead of pulp horror.
Got it. Okay, this is interesting. Damaged
Think of how
glasses.
racist those supervillains would have been.
Right. Well,
Right.
in the 30s, I mean.
Well, yeah, but he's an exceptional racist.
That's true. He's very, very high level.
Yeah.
Right.
Damage
Glasses mentions great use of public domain characters that they've seen in Eminem, Madame Macabre. Where does Madame Macabre come from? One of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. She's a character from Emerald City.
And how is she public domain?
She's not, to my knowledge.
I
think it's
her minions are.
using her public domain characters as minions. Although I don't know if Godzilla is public domain yet.
I don't know either. Yeah. Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Could be, though, originally.
Yeah, Frankenstein, of course. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, Madame Macabre's Elvira, right? That's with the serial number spot.
Yeah.
Right?
But one of my favorites. I do love that villain.
Yeah, any
I was
character
thinking
could be
too,
public
another
domain
fun-
if you change enough of the details about them.
Exactly.
True. Exactly. Right. Welcome to Wonder Grandpa. Instead of Wonder Woman, get it?
Wonder Grandpa.
I was
Wonder
thinking too. Get us out from under, Wonder Grandpa.
Yep.
The other thing that I thought would be a fun way for folks to utilize public domain stuff is to create a challenge for the people around your table to go out and hunt and seek and create a hero out of public domain resources. That could be a lot of fun. I dig it. I wonder if we should do something like that in the tank.
Yeah. I imagine folks would come up with some interesting stuff.
I've done a couple interviews on Win with Dice where they Calvin asked me to come up with a plot revolving around a couple of public domain supervillains, and that was a fun time.
Oh, fun. Now, did he pre-pick the villains?
We rolled for them. He had a list of like 20 of them that we rolled to see which villains we'd get.
Nice.
How cool. Yeah, so when you were doing that, did you try to keep to, like, were there some strictures or some boundaries that say, like, hey, you must present this hero at the way that it appeared, or what were the kind of rules around that?
So we rolled, and then we had to come up with a plot that would make sense for that villain. knowing that some of the public domain characters do not have a lot of information to go off of because some of them were in
Right.
one comic and then were never heard again.
Yeah, I mean, there were literally public domain characters, superheroes who like appeared in comics. We don't even know what their like real name is.
Yeah. The last one I did was for a villain named Dr.
Yeah, absolutely.
Martinius and the Brain Men of Mars, which was a ton of fun.
That's evocative.
Yeah. Yeah. Dr.
Yeah,
Martinius
yeah,
was
it
an
is.
Earthman who traveled to Mars and conquered the planet, declaring himself the warlord of Mars.
Uh-huh.
And then he was going to take over the universe, starting with the Earth.
Sure, like you do.
And then he sent meteors to Earth infested with Martian insects.
Oh,
I like this diabolical scheme.
well, that's
Were they giant
yeah,
Martian
yeah,
insects?
Absolutely.
Or just regular sized?
No,
Yeah, what
just
did they turn
regular
into?
insects that would spread disease across the land.
Oh, so it's more of a classic colonization plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That's
But the
great.
Brain Men look insane,
Devious
and I wish I
mentions
could share an
that,
image of
Oh, can't you?
let me see. Maybe. Let me see how I can share an image on Restream. Is there a way to do that?
That is still being a real.
Right. Yeah, as Paul points out, it's crazy enough that there are public domain characters who have actually only appeared on cover art and never even in the stories. And that's how much we know about them.
Did that work, Troy? No.
Yeah, we'll just one moment. Hey,
Oh,
that's not what we
I
want.
see the.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah, they're little green men, literally. With giant heads.
Yeah.
They look like Marvin
Brilliant
the Martian.
humanoids. They do kind of look like Marvin the Martian without the helmet.
Or not.
And they had little ray guns powerful enough to destroy a building.
Yeah. Of course they do.
Nice. Well, yeah, one would demand it. That's awesome. I love it. Tempo asks,
And
mentions
Dr. Martinius is
Wonder
dressed like
Grandpa.
a Roman gladiator for no reason.
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Because he's a conqueror, I guess.
I want to mention real quick, Tempo's talking about Wonder Grandpa. I can only hope that Stan's in the audience. Because wait no more.
Mhm.
Let's see. Calvin, I still doubt that man was a real doctor.
Mhm.
No,
I
there's
think
no
that,
way.
that his doctorate was honorary or dishonorary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Apparently, the hero he faced off against is named Stardust the Super Wizard.
Yep.
Oh, Stardust, the super lizard. It's kind of. I'm expecting kind of a Ziggy Stardust. treatment.
That one is a crazy public domain character. I recommend reading up on.
Oh, and that's a real public domain character.
Yes, that was a character who was really published and is
That
now
is
public domain.
That is awesome.
You're gonna find when you start exploring public domain characters that the golden age of comics was just crazy.
Yeah, speaking of crazy, there are definitely a lot of magicians, but so many captains.
Yes, lots of captains. Everyone's a
Lots of
captain.
captains.
They were obsessed. Obsessed they were.
Yes, probably more captains even than doctors.
Right, yeah. It would appear. The lust for adventure, everyone was a captain, I guess.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm checking some of these. Lovecraft's editor ended up working in comics. Oh yeah.
Julie
Well,
Schwartz.
and that's interesting too. Didn't is it the bulk of Lovecraft's work is now public domain or upon his passing? Or?
I think a good chunk of it. I'm not sure about all of it. Of course, the Cthulhu mythos is really tangled because Lovecraft is not the sole author of all of the stories.
Fair point.
Some of his contemporaries also wrote mythos stories, and there's been a lot added since then. So that's another one of those really tangled setting IPs because it's unclear what stuff is and is not public domain sometimes.
Yeah, and stuff that have made it to the zeitgeist as far as how you might refer to a creature or a monster, but that are copyrighted, or that. somebody else owns. So yeah, that's an
Yeah.
important piece too. Yes,
Indeed.
Devious has dropped a link to Banana Hammock. Thank goodness.
Yes. Pointing
Yes.
out that
Captain.
yes, folks do create, characters just to put them in the public domain.
That's right. Yeah, which was very interesting. Yeah. My question about that is he the captain of the banana hammock, or is
He's not
he
even wearing
just
a banana hammock.
I know that's the
What a
ironic part.
disappointment.
Yeah, isn't he? What's he wearing?
He's just
Just
wearing
wearing-
like short
He's
swim
wearing
trunks.
trunks. I mean, like,
Oh, I guess I really hadn't thought of what the definition of a banana hammock was, but hey, there you go.
right?
I think dance belt, but on the outside when I think banana hammock.
Sorry, my internet's being real bad.
Well, and folks mention about bringing in like actual historical characters, and I mean, by definition, they're all in the public domain. They're people who really existed, so you can usually talk about them. Yeah, John Carter of Mars, and again, that's one of those to me, like is John Carter's version of Mars the real Mars? And if so, like, how did that history work out? Because man, our telescopes got a lot better, So I think that we would have noticed a whole civilization on Mars eventually.
They're just really good at avoiding our robots,
right? Yeah, and certainly once we like actually landed a probe on Mars, I think people would have noticed. So that's an interesting history to play around with. Like, what was that like? And if John Carter's Mars wasn't actually Mars, then what is it?
There we go. I think I'm back. Wow, this is really, the internet is really being a
Difficult.
creep.
Yeah.
So my apologies, friends. I have a feeling it might continue on in this way for some time, but look at the
Yeah.
time. It's only a few
Getting
minutes
there.
left. Why don't we dive into what's going on for the week? And let's start with Steve. What's happening in the Steve Kinson cinematic universe?
So I continue to be hard at work on Mutants and Masterminds 4th edition stuff. To answer the question that Grognard asked at the top of the episode, yes, there is going to be a color-coded damage chart in Mutants and Masterminds 4th. It's on my list of production notes. There's going to be a whole appendix of tables and charts and stuff like that, including that one. And I am working on adventures and archetypes and other content for 4th edition stuff. And we are going to be ramping up work on planning out art for the Hero's Handbook in the fairly near future. I know that we've been reaching out to and talking to our backers who have their own characters who are going to be included in Hero's Handbook to get their notes and their information. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all of that stuff and to planning out some art for the book and the like in the near future. And there's no word for Troy, so I'm going to hand it off to you,
Here
Alex.
I am. Yeah, Alex, tell us what's going on in your world. Thank you.
So yeah, in about 30 minutes, I'll be doing office hours. We'll be playing Fallout 76 for the first time tonight with my buddies, and I'll be playing the role of the Arctic Fox once again, taking my shenanigans on the road to the wasteland. We had a lot of fun in New Vegas, toppling the capitalist overlords. We'll see what happens in West Virginia.
Nothing could go wrong there.
Yeah, been doing my development work for Masterminds Manual, doing some writing of some Titan City adventures, getting ready for Gen Con in a couple weeks, doing a lot of miniature printing and painting and preparing for some pretty cool games. I'm running 3 games I've sold 5 tickets for each game, but if you show up, I could probably get you in up to 6 or 7 players, depending on the comfort of the other people at the table who already have tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, I'll be at Gen Con. So if you see me, come up and say hi. I'm always happy to talk to people about whatever you want to talk about.
Yes, indeed.
Right on. We've got some really exciting stuff in the wings waiting to be announced around Gen Con. And so folks should keep their eyes peeled because that's coming very, very soon.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Pleasure as always.
For the internet, it is, but you lose. All right, my friends, I will talk to you later. And let's talk about this. If you can hear me in any possible way, join the Grad. It's our official Discord server. We've got a lot of events coming up, including things like, the GM Bootcamp, coordinated by our very own Cape and Cal Club. Pretty exciting stuff. You want to check that out. I don't know if you can hear me, but we do have July events planned throughout the entire month, all the way to the end. Take a look at this calendar and pick something fun and get into it, like this very program here. Great, thank you, Devious. I'm not sure if everyone else can, but here we go on to what's happening this Thursday. It's Get Tanked with Troy. It is right after Thursday, as a matter of fact, at 5 p.m. Pacific. You come hang out with us, and we have a blast. It is so much fun, and who knows what we're going to talk about. It's just a tremendous collection of miscreants and folks with new ideas. Maybe you've gone to do a live stream. Maybe you've got a plan for publishing something through one of our third-party publishers. Whatever it is, come out, hang out with us, Get Tanked with Troy. It's my office hours, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, nearly every single Thursday. Next up, we have Devious, our What's in the Tank correspondent. Save me from this internet hell, my friend.
I'll do my best for you. I guess what we'll do is we'll go just dive right into what's in the tank, make it short and sweet, and get you off that questionable internet.
Thank you.
No worries. First of all, new in the Freedom City Library, we have Creating Parallel Realities by Jason Cochran. Goes into basically how to create parallel realities by taking historical events and kind of flipping them. It's like, what would happen if this happened instead? And basically going through the parallel consequences. Also making our cities, tips on engaging city creation by Peyton Fletcher. Brand new article from a brand new gentleman, fresh in the tank. Thank you very much, Mr. Fletcher. I do appreciate it. You rock. Next, of course, we have Chris Davies putting in the work. Thank you, Mr. Davies, for making all those characters. For the events, of course, we have Moo Mammo. We also have Office Hours 30 minutes. We have Chrono Crisis this Wednesday. We have Office Hours this Thursday, of course. Superhero Shenanigans is this Friday, the 17th. We have also Sunday, July 19th, Masks and Mayhem, RC Byler bringing it for us. And finally on Monday, Golden Squad. We got a fully packed week, ladies and gentlemen. Troy, are you there?
I'm there. I'm here, and looking forward to the week as it unfolds. Everybody have a wonderful Monday. Thank you, Devious, for sharing all that lovely information, and we'll be back hopefully Thursday. You'll see us. We're going to be talking about the new release for The Expanse.
If Troy's internet holds out.
That's right. I'll just do it psychically. Send everyone a psychic message. But in the meantime, I think all we got to do is say goodbye to let me free of this torture. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.